Australia is once again leading the way in digital authoritarianism, despite promising that the new digital hate speech laws would be used to crack down on crime and protect children. One of their first orders of businesses was to protect the woke radical trans movement. Australia's eSafety Commissioner demanded that a post be removed which featured concern over an LGBTQ+ activist. This was done citing Section 88 of the Online Safety Act 2021. Rod, is this kind of micromanaging of internet in line with the public expectation of what the eSafety Commissioner's role is meant to be?
I think it's overreach. I don't think. The stuff with Chris Elston, who we're talking about, he's the Canadian man who posted that. All he said was, this woman, yes, she's female, is part of a panel of 20 experts hired by the WHO to draft their policy on caring for trans people. And what he was criticising was, he was actually linking to a Daily Mail article, and he was criticising how these activists are actually being considered to be experts, especially on health. And this particular gentleman in question, which is the Daily Mail, he was only just sourcing from the Daily Mail. So he was responding to an article. He wasn't actually making statements against this person, yet the eSafety Commission has come out and said that a post was harmful and potentially dangerous and doesn't fit within the eSafety guidelines. The problem with that is the guy's Canadian. He lives in Canada. He doesn't live in Australia. So a lot of the heat around this isn't just because it's just about free speech. It's about government overreach. The Australian government is reaching as far as they can, as far as Canada, to try and stop a citizen of another country from saying something, speaking freely, or saying something that he believes is right and acting on his own convictions. I mean, as I put out in the article, the eSafety Commission has its own rules about coercion, and they're there to stop coercion. And yet somehow the coercion that they're doing doesn't apply to them. That rule that they have doesn't apply to them. I mean, it's coercion control. This is how they define it. An abuser of technology stopping another person from using it as a weapon to gain control over them. I think that's pretty clear in what's happening here with Chris Elston and the eSafety Commissioner. It's definitely an overstep.
If they learned it from anywhere, they learned it from the European Union, who've been trying to do this stuff for a long time. And I don't know if anybody remembers just about a year before the COVID nightmare began, there were all these big blackouts of Wikipedia and of other websites when the European Commission tried to have authority over what was said online. Now, so we've got this Australian body trying to control what people in other countries are saying. You warned about this whole eSafety thing all the way midway through last year. Now, this is what the Act actually promised for those who weren't following at the time. It promised to protect children online from sex predators. It promised to stop online scams, to restrain provable foreign enemy psyops and disinformation, protect free and fair elections as well as freedom of speech, and to keep governments accountable. That was the purview. There was nothing in there about acting as a police arm of woke culture. Maybe it was in the fine print, I don't know, maybe we didn't read far enough down through the Act, Rod. But the same thing has happened in the UK, where their safety laws have been used to attack political speakers. Is this if we're going to accept this situation, Rod, what do we say to the eSafety Commissioner about people in other countries who are saying terrible things about the Jewish people, about Christians, radical Islamic cultures, there's thousands of posts online that would violate the eSafety Commissioner's rights. Where are they on that? Why are they only policing very particular things?
Because they have a double standard on terrorism. Basically, if you look at Joe Biden, his unity speech last year was pretty much, if you're not a Democrat, you're a domestic terrorist. And that all that's actually coordinated. That was paraphrased. He didn't say that. I'm paraphrasing him. And the sentiment of his speech, which was ironic given it was supposed to be about unity and building back better. And that all comes from what they put out early in, I think, 2021, called the 4 Pillars on Domestic Terrorism. If you read that, and you go into the fine print of that, you actually see the domesticization of the war on terror against the American people. And I think that you can see that happening in Australia slowly. I think during COVID that definitely happened, and I think they used some of that, especially in Melbourne, that anti-terror stuff was deployed against pro-freedom protesters. I think they're working outside of a framework that we would be consenting to normally, such as the protecting children online from sex predators. They're very simple rules that, if there has to exist, we have to have an eSafety department or group, or even legislation. It should just be 5 simple things that which we've just stated, which is stopping online scams, restraining provable foreign interference in elections, things like that, protecting free and fair elections, which is part of it, and freedom of speech, as well as keeping governments accountable. I think if it operates outside of those parameters, it negates its existence, and we should be holding them accountable to the laws that they hold us accountable to. The government isn't outside the law. The government has to operate within it. Otherwise, there is no rule of law and everyone can do what they want. And that's one of the problems I think we're seeing here with woke hypocrisy, is that they're creating a two-tier justice system where they can operate outside the law, like they're trying to do, I guess, with Donald Trump and the persecution there. And even just recently, we looked at Elon Musk and come back to him and his backing Gina Carano and also backing Chris Elston, refusing to block his account, standing up to the Australian eSafety Commissioner. You have Brazil now on the brink of banning X because the Supreme Court, El Jefe, has basically said that, well, you know what, I want you to ban these accounts because they're breaking certain laws. Musk has gone, no, they're not. You want me to ban popular accounts such as political opponents and media dissenters. I'm not going to do that. So what they've done is they've now pushed him into a criminal investigation into what they call digital militias, which is best termed as misinformation militias. So even in Brazil, you see this unfolding. So it's not just about Australia and eSafety. It's about what's happening in America with Donald Trump. It's all kind of linked together. If you look and look at the what's happening, and you join the dots together, you can really see how this isn't just an isolated event or an isolated movement behind the scenes in the bureaucracy. This is appears to be at least a coordinated event or a coordinated move towards something far greater, which is total control over what we think and what we speak and what we believe, even, I think, in that sense. So, yeah, overstep, overreach.